Hello and welcome to another episode of the My Greek Island podcast, dedicated to take you, the wanderlust, on a journey through Greece.
There are 227 inhabited Greek islands. Which one will you visit next?
My Greek Island with your hosts George and Maria.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the My Greek Island podcast with your hosts George Tunias
and Maria Petrakou. Now in today's episode, we're going to look at some basic Greek phrases so you can hit the ground running and have some Greek sayings in your pocket from the moment you land in Greece. Now this is part one of many episodes to follow, right, George?
Well, I hope so. And on that note, whilst these phrases might be basic, we are anything but basic, aren't we, Maria?
That is very true.
Or we like to think anyway. So before we start this podcast and get straight into it with some Greek phrases to hit the ground running, you all need to close your eyes. Actually, not close your eyes if you're driving or walking, listening to this. But imagine you have just landed in Eleftherios Venizelos Airport, so that's Athens International. I always get goosebumps when I land in Greece. I don't know about you. Is that a thing for you?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, you didn't look convinced, but I do get it. But you're landing in Athens, it's midday, and you are waiting for that plume of hot air to hit you as you step off that plane. I'm getting excited just thinking about it. And this is usually my experience as the budget airline queen that I am. You usually get left around 3 kilometers away from the airport terminal. So you're usually waiting for a hot and stuffy bus when you come off the plane. Maria, it's probably different for you, isn't it?
When I'm flying from London, yes, because I get off the airplane straight into the airport. Although when I'm taking an internal flight, I do get what you're saying when you're in the bus and you can hear that, you can feel that heat.
Exactly. But when you arrive and that hot air hits your face, the upside of that is that you're getting the full hello, welcome to Greece, summer heat vibes.
100%.
Unless you're going in the winter when it's cold. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode. So you've landed, you're entering the terminal building. It might be morning, night, evening, afternoon. What sort of things are people might say at the border control?
One thing that's good to know is hello, good morning, good afternoon, good night. I would just go with hello, which is γεια σας.
Γεια σας. So that's a formal way of saying hello.
Yeah, γεια σας. If you want to say the informal, it's γεια σου, although we should probably stick to the formal version. In the Greek language, we do use the formal when you do not know someone. So if it's your first encounter with someone, you will always use the formal version. So γεια σας is a very good word to use with border control or with anyone in Greece. And worth noting that it actually means, the word γιά comes from υγεία, which means health. So you're actually wishing them good health. And I think there's quite a few languages that have the same way of greeting, that are wishing health to others.
Yep, so we have the first word, which is γεια σας, which is formal. You don't want to be getting in trouble on your arrival in Greece. So γεια σας.
No, not at all.
And then how about looking at some common that if you're a listener to this podcast, you will know the word for good morning.
Correct, because we usually record in the mornings and George always says to me, Kaliméra, Maria.
So Kalimera means good morning. So repeat that, Maria.
Kalimera.
Kalimera. Then we have good afternoon.
Καλησπέρα.
Kalispéra. And then we have good night.
Καληνύχτα.
Kalinýchta.
So there's a common theme going on here, which is the word καλή, which means good. We will repeat this word quite a lot throughout the podcast. Καλή, καλό, καλός. So keep it in your back pocket. It's a good one to know.
Yep. So let's recap. So we have Kalimera, also you might want to pause and repeat it to yourself out loud. So Kalimera, Kalispéra, and finally Kalηνύχτα. We're good so far?
I think we're very good. Should we move on?
I think we're very good. Let's move on. So you've landed in Greece. It's your first night in Greece now. Wherever you are, you have arrived at your final destination. Now, for a My Greek Islander, you're probably going to travel around a bit. You're not going to stay at the first place you go, but it is your first night. And Greeks are known for their hospitality.
They are indeed. And chances are you, on your first night, I would say that you're probably going to end up somewhere for a nice meal with good food if you follow the My Greek Island recommendations. Since that Greeks are known for their hospitality, a good thing here would probably be, how about to introduce yourself?
Mm-hmm. Perfect. So how would you do that?
So I think the easiest way to introduce yourself in Greek, because there's quite a few ways to do it, is to say me léne Maria, which literally translates like I'm called Maria. Instead of saying, I think that it's more difficult to say my name is Maria in Greek. So let's stick to me léne Maria.
And I would say me léne Γιώργο. And the question for that, if you want to ask someone what is their name, is πώς σε λένε, which is informal, but we'll just keep to that one for now. Because if you are making introductions, you might say to someone, πώς σε λένε, and you would answer,
me léne Maria.
And now you ask me? This is like a little lesson.
Πώς σε λένε εσένα?
Me léne Γιώργο.
Okay, I added the word esena to my sentence, which means what is your name and what is your name.
And then you're going to say nice to meet you.
Ah.
Well, hopefully it's nice to meet them.
Oh. So if it's nice to meet you, it's Chárika.
Chárika, τέλεια. So let's go from the beginning with the question, the answer, and nice to meet you. So you can ask the question.
Πώς σε λένε?
Με λένε Γιώργο. Πώς σε λένε?
Με λένε Μαρία.
Chárika.
Κι εγώ.
What does that mean?
Κι εγώ means me too.
Me too. Perfect. So that's good for a little introduction. So you can say your name. What is their name? What next?
Well, we're at a restaurant, so should we ask for the menu?
You could ask for the menu. What is the word for menu in Greek?
So it's exactly the same. It's menu, but it's just pronounced slightly different. It's pronounced menoú. So you could say το menoú Parakaló, which means the menu, please.
Το menu, Parakaló. So you've learned the menu, please. Το menu, Parakaló. Perfect. Anything else in the restaurant?
Well, if we go back to the episode that we did on Santorini, we had learnt the phrase ένα potíri krasí, Parakaló. So that's another good phrase that you could potentially use in a restaurant, which means a glass of wine, please. And if you want to take it a step further, you could say ένα potíri lefkó krasí, Parakaló, which means a glass of white wine, please.
Perfect. Ένα ποτήρι λευκό κρασί, Parakaló. There are other things that you could order, but this is going to get too complicated for the basic phrases. And often a lot of people want to know, and I don't know why, when I'm teaching like beginner's Greek or a beginners of something, they want to know like to say how much is something, which is great. Or if you want to ask directions, like where is the pharmacy, that's fine. You can learn that, but then if someone answers you in the language because your accent is really good, you're going to have no clue what they're saying. So I usually just avoid these questions. Just like stick with the ones that don't require a big answer back, because then, you know, if you're asking for like how much is it in a bakery and they're like €5.95 in Greek, because some people have really good Greek accents, so you might get fooled.
George, I think that we should mention here that apart from co-host of this podcast and a fellow My Greek Island traveller, you actually do teach Greek.
I do.
In your,
I know, I'm sweating now because you're putting me on the spot. It's actually really hot in London this weekend, and now you've like made me blush. If only you could see my face. Yes, I do teach beginners Greek, and also French and Italian, but that's maybe for My Greek Island, Italy or Spain. I don't know. Anyway, not Spain, France. Okay, let's move on. So we've got that, the restaurant, and then we've said thank you. So please and thank you.
So please is Parakaló.
Parakaló.
And thank you is Efcharistó.
Okay, so Parakaló and Efcharistó. And then some ones that we've missed out, which are really key, is yes and no.
Of course. So yes is ναι and no is Ochi.
So we've got ne and Ochi. That's really pretty straightforward. So ne and Ochi. Perfect. And should we look at some Greek phrases for day to day?
Sure, why not?
What should we start with?
Well, how about we start with one that we did in the previous episode, which was, how are you? And I answered, I'm very well.
So, τι κάνεις?
And the answer to that could be καλά, which means good.
Good, yeah.
Or πολύ καλά, which means very good. So again, you can see the word καλά, which we used also in Kaliméra. So it's the same word, which means good. So if someone asks you τι κάνεις, you can answer καλά for good or πολύ καλά for very good.
Yeah, and also to note, πολύ comes up in English a lot, like if you're a polyglot, which means you speak many languages. So like πολύ καλά, very well. You can see that. And also, you only need to know, τι κάνεις and καλά or πολύ καλά, which is very well. Because when you're in Greece, you're going to be, living your best life. You're not going to be saying anything other than you're doing really well. And we're not teaching you that. That's what Google Translate is for, that you can have it there. So we've got τι κάνεις, how are you, and καλά or πολύ καλά.
My Greek island is for good vibes only.
Good vibes only on this podcast.
Good vibes only in Greece.
And this is like part 1. Maybe in part 10 we will do something else. So we've got to say how are you and answer that. Perfect.
And I think here we should probably remind our My Greek Islanders that there is a cheat sheet that you can download from the My Greek Island website, and you can save it on your phone and have it in your back pocket as an additional cheat sheet in addition to what we're teaching you today.
Perfect. And then other phrases that we might use when you're going out is how to say cheers.
So how to say cheers, the correct way is to say stin υγειά μας, which means to our good health. But a cut down version of it, which is used mainly with the tourists just so that it's easier for them to say it, is γιά μας.
Γιά μας. Opa. Maybe don't use that. Opa. No opa.
No opa, George, no, please. No opa.
We don't really say it in Greece, opa.
There's no opa and there's no breaking plates, darling, here.
There's no breaking plates. And also on that, when I used to live in Greece, people used to go to the Greek nights and try and smash like a normal plate. And they didn't realize that the plate smashing plates are actually like some sort of special plate that smashes really easily. So they'd like throw these like industrial plates that would just roll and wouldn't smash when they were like really drunk. It was always highly amusing. But yeah, no smashing plates unless they're specific plates for smashing.
I've not ever experienced that. I've not ever experienced.
You didn't grow up in a holiday resort. Yeah, that were fun times. So we've got γιά μας, which is cheers. And then maybe we should how to say if you're having shots. I mean, I don't do shots. Do you do shots? You do a bit of tequila?
No, I don't do shots.
You like a bit of tequila, a bit of ouzo?
I'll drink ouzo with my fish at a taverna, but not in shots. I'll drink it as a drink.
Okay, let's say you're in Greece and you're doing shots. You want to do a shot while you're in Greece, or you get offered it. Actually, you get offered it for free, and you want to say like down in one. How would we say down in one, or like down it?
Oh, that's aspro pardo, which literally means white bottom of the glass.
So the bottom of the glass. So aspro pardo. I mean, that would, if you were in a bar and you got bought some drinks from the owner, like a shot, and you said to him or her, whoever, aspro pardo, they'd be like, where do you know that from? Because it's very specific.
Where do you know that from, George?
yeah, for the My Greek Island podcast. Perfect. We've got that. And then the final part for this basic phrases, part 1, sounding like a Greek. So we're going to give you maybe 2 or 3 things to really make you sound like a Greek, or if you just want to, say a phrase. What can we start with?
Okay. Well, the one that we said on the coffee culture was πάμε για καφέ, which literally translates into let's catch up. And is just usually accompanied with coffee. However, if you don't know someone well and you don't want to have coffee with them, it would be a weird phrase to say. But
I know.
in case that there is someone you do want to catch up with or meet more, you can say, πάμε για
Πάμε για καφέ. And if you don't like coffee, well, it doesn't actually mean going for coffee. It means going for...
Yeah, it doesn't literally mean that you have to have coffee. You can have tea, you can have a drink, you can have anything.
So another phrase that you could use, and we say this at the end of every podcast, is, should we say it in unison?
léne.
So which means, what is it? How does it directly translate as? léne means like speak soon. Or
so it means we'll speak.
We'll speak, but it doesn't really.
But literally, it's just like see you later.
Yeah, see you later, alligator. So léne. And then let's have 2 more. Another one you might hear Greeks use a lot. It means come here, but you might see them answering a phone and they say έλα, which means like. How would someone use it?
I would say έλα is sort of like hey.
Yeah, maybe it's just for you to know, but not really use.
Yeah, it's a very common used word, although it doesn't really mean come here, which is the literal meaning of the word. So when you hear it, I think 95% of the times it's not used meaning come here. It's mean like hey, what's up? Like έλα.
Yeah. So you might hear it and know what it means, but probably won't use it. And another one that I think would be good for listeners is χαλαρά.
Χαλαρά means
Χαλαρά.
take it easy.
Taking it easy, chill vibes, island
chill.
vibes, wherever you are, Greek vibes. So χαλαρά.
I've got a funny story about Kaliméra.
Go on then.
There is an island called Geiá, which is, I think there was a documentary on BBC about it. It's known for its longevity.
Oh, yes, the island where people don't die. Well, they do die, but like,
Yes, they do. It's just they live many years and they have a very healthy life. So when I visited, it was many, many years ago, I was driving and it was at a time when there was no Google Maps, so I didn't have on my phone. I got to the airport, I got into the rental car and I was just told you just go straight and at some point you'll get there. So an hour later I'm still driving and I'm like, where the hell is this place? So I would stop and I would ask someone, sorry, I'm going to this place, how do I go? And they'd say, just keep going straight. So I'd say to them, is it far? And they were like, sort of. And then they would say, χαλαρά, like chill. Anyway, I was driving for 2.5 hours, and after 2.5 hours, I was definitely not chilled, but every single person I would stop and ask on the street would just say to me, χαλαρά. And that the entire island has this concept that everything is just so chilled. And the people will say it, like if you ask something, they're like, yeah, cool, χαλαρά.
So that's going to be the name of the episode for the island of Geiá, the Χαλαρά Island.
For sure, 100%.
Right, my Greek Islanders, I think that's enough Greek for one lesson, don't you think? Which means we're coming to the end of this episode of the My Greek Island podcast. But don't worry, we'll be coming back with more Greek phrases and sayings that you can use when going to Greece to sound like a local.
We hope that you enjoyed it, and we hope that you'll be able to take away a few words, not just χαλαρά, τι κάνεις, Ευχαριστώ, Parakaló, to be able to ask for the menu, to thank someone, to introduce yourself, etc. Right, George?
Exactly. And if you have any phrases that you would like us to include in a future part 2 episode, please get in touch. And make sure to check out the My Greek Island website for this cheat sheet that you can download and have in your pocket when you are arriving in Greece. Right, my Greek Islanders, this comes to the end of another episode of this podcast.
Now you know the drill. If you like this episode, share it to share the love with the My Greek Island community, where everyone is welcome. And
don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, and all that jazz, and maybe give us a little rating from wherever you're listening to us from, so you are notified every time a new episode drops. And if you have any suggestions or requests, get in touch.
And for those of you visiting Greece, don't forget to tag @MyGreekIsland on Instagram for a future feature. Until then, see you later, or as they say in Greek,
Τα λέμε.